Hey everybody, Mr. Eric here. Welcome back for another review. Today is kind of a rehash and expansion on a comparison I did with some iFi products previously. So on hand today I have the Zen Stack, which is the Zen DAC V2 and the Zen CAN amplifier on top of that. So I'm going to go ahead and link you to a previous Zen DAC versus Hip DAC comparison that I did a while back. Pretty much everything I said there for the Zen DAC holds true, but we'll kind of expand on that just a little bit more, in this review. So, first, what I'd like to do is dive into the unboxing of what we get with all these things. In addition to the Zen DAC and the Zen CAN, I've also, iFi sent this to me, just so you know, and but they're not paying me or they're influencing me in any way, so you don't have to worry about that. But in addition to these, they sent the linear power supply that they have to go with the Zen DAC, and then they also sent this big, beautiful 4.4 to 4.4 balanced cable. So that's all going to be kind of mixed in with this, but let's go ahead and jump into those unboxings so you can see exactly what you get. Then we'll come back and we'll start talking about it. All right, so let's start with the Zen CAN. Here's, pretty simple standard box. Nothing wrong with it, but just not a lot of frills to it either. A little bit of documentation. Get the Zen CAN unit itself here. Feels really solid. These little amps, they feel quite dense, look well made, finish is good. Comes with a few little accessories, power supply, a nice little, 3.5 to 1/4 inch. And, probably not necessary that they include it, but I appreciate that it's there. And same with iFi's RCA cables. They seem to include these purple RCA cables with all their stuff. Again, not necessary, but I appreciate that it's in there. This is the balanced interconnect that they've got, and I was just really impressed with the build of this interconnect. Now it is a little pricey, $70, $80, which I don't know if I would spend my money on that, but it is a nice interconnect, and you can see it's nice thick cable, braided, big connectors. It feels good. It feels well built. Zen DAC, very similar packaging, like identical basically. Again, documentation, you got the unit in there, same footprint, same exact footprint. They're meant to stack, except this time the accessories are a bit different. USB cable, but you get the same purple RCAs and the same 1/4 inch adapter. Again, the unit just very well built, feels very solid. Very nice finish on it. Really like the look and feel of these products. iFi's linear power supply, again, $50, maybe a little pricey when you look at what you're pairing it with, but I was just kind of shocked by all the different connectors that are in here. It's worth noting that to use it with the Zen DAC, it's just the one that's on there. Is the one you use, but there is just about any possible connection in here that you could think of. So I think if you're looking to use this for some other device, you can probably sort it out in there. Lots and lots of different connection options. Okay, so you got a little bit of a look at these two units, but let's dive in a little bit and kind of look at them together. You can see, together I do think they are just kind of a beautiful stack. They feel very, very robust. They're very dense feeling, just kind of deceiving for their size. So they feel extremely well made, just beautiful devices. and, you know, somewhat unique. And I feel like they tread the line nicely of being unique without being like too strange looking. So I don't feel like they look too out of place, you know, on a desk. I think they look pretty modern and sleek, as far as that goes. So I think they look and feel really, really nice. One thing that I would like to note is in my previous review of the first Zen DAC, the V1, I didn't like how the buttons rattled around. I'm happy to report that they seem to have improved that button technology, because these don't rattle around nearly as much. And again, that wasn't really an issue. It made the units feel cheaper than they were. So I'm glad to see that they've rectified that here. You can see that these units, they stack just really, really nicely. And then if you're connecting them with a 4.4 balanced cable, so you're getting a fully balanced setup in a very, very compact package here, and it's super clean as well. So all that is really nice. You can see, like, look how close these stack, and yet it's sitting on rubber feet about perfectly. So they're very secure with those rubber feet. They sit nicely in place. If you just nudge them, they don't slide around or anything like that. Again, very nice, high quality feel to them. As far as knob feel goes, it's the same volume knob, same feel on each one. It feels nice and smooth. I would maybe like just a tad more resistance, but I'm being pretty nitpicky if we're coming down to that as far as this goes. Just really the build quality on these is just phenomenal. Just feels great. All the buttons work and click really nicely and have really tactile feedback to them. So again, really nice in that regard. I'm just, for the money, the build of this is definitely super nice. And I would say it's a step above, you know, something like the entry-level shit stack, or you know, the Atom stack or the Liquid Spark stack, kind of any of those $100 stacks. I think the quality here surpasses those. So let's take a moment, and before we talk about sound, let's talk about functionality here, because again, I think for the money, you're getting unparalleled functionality, to be perfectly honest. So let's talk about what all you're getting here. You're getting fully balanced. You're getting lots of gain stages. On the Zen CAN amp, you are getting balanced in, single-headed 3.5 in, RCA in, and you're getting a balanced out. So think about, for $150, which is what this is going for on Amazon right now, new, like, what other amp are you gonna touch that even comes close to that level of like functionality? And so I just think, again, value, like the value here is really, really good. Okay, so let's go ahead and dig into the sound of these units. First, I want to address the Zen DAC by itself, because, and I'm not gonna spend too much time on this, but I do just want to revisit it. In my initial comparison with the hip DAC, I said that I feel like the headphone amp portion of the Zen DAC is a little unrefined to my ear. I feel like it sounds a little compressed, a little hazy, it lacks kind of clarity, and I just felt like there was overall kind of like a looseness to it. And I feel like that still remains fairly true. Now, all that sounds pretty negative, but what I would say to this is that, you know, one, I don't think the power supply made much difference in that regard. Some people claim it make a big difference. I didn't find that to be true. But two, I think if you're getting the Zen DAC to just get you started, I think it's fine. Okay, I think it'll work okay for you. And then, you know, if you're looking at, you know, getting the Zen DAC for, you know, what I think the V2 is about $150, but again, if you're looking used or something along those lines, you can probably get it closer to 100, I would imagine. So if you're looking at picking that up and then later on down the road picking up the Zen CAN to go with it, I think you're okay there. I don't think personally for me I would pick the Zen DAC for my sole headphone amp, but it's enough to get you started is what I would say. The other thing that I noted was that there was a noticeable noise with the Zen DAC V1 when using just an OTG cable with an iPhone or an iPad. Using the external power supply does get rid of that 100%. So if you're going to use it from a phone or a mobile device of some sort, then I would definitely recommend that you get that external power supply, whether it's iFi's for $50 or another cheaper option. I think I haven't tried any of the cheaper options, but I think you could probably get away with one. And if you're running it straight out of a mobile, I think that's something you're going to want to look into. And I'll link to something that I think will work down below for that as well. So that being said, let's move on and talk about the Zen CAN amplifier, because really this is the one that I think it is a more compelling, or having the stack together I think is a fairly compelling thing. And here's what I found about the sound of the Zen CAN. I'm just going to summarize it real quick, and then we'll kind of expand, and we'll get into a little bit of comparisons and things here too. So I would describe the Zen CAN amplifier as very clean, flat. Crystalline is a term that came to mind, and fast. I think it's a really fast amplifier. So what I would say though is that maybe it lacks a little bit of emotion would be the fault that I would give it. But if you're looking for a very linear, clean, clear, fast sound, I think you're going to really like what the Zen CAN has to offer. Now, when I was testing it, I've got quite a few other amps on hand right now. I've got a Magni 3 Plus, I've got an Asgard 3, and I've got a JDS Labs L Amp 2, all on hand. And I would say that all of those other amps convey a little more maybe engagement for me, a little more emotion. But I would say that the Zen CAN is like faster and maybe a bit cleaner than all of those, honestly. So it comes down to kind of a preference thing here, really. Are you looking for something that's super linear and clean? Zen CAN's got you covered. Are you looking for something that's maybe a little more spacious and a little bit thicker sounding? That'd be more of like the Asgard 3 territory. The JDS Labs LM2, maybe somewhere kind of in the middle. I haven't had a ton of time to spend with that amp though, so I'm not gonna do a lot of comparisons there. When comparing the Zen CAN to the Magni 3 Plus, I thought that it had noticeable clarity improvement coming to it, noticeably faster, and but again, the Magni 3 Plus kind of had an energy to it that I felt like the Zen CAN lacked. And I found these results to be fairly consistent across multiple headphones I tested, which would include the LCD2 Pre-Phaser and the OG AudioQuest Nighthawks and the Night Owls were the three main ones that I tested with. I also tested the Ship 9600s and the Moondrop Starfields as well. As far as the Starfields go, I would say that, number one, the Zen CAN had enough power to drive all of those headphones sufficiently, and I think it's like 1.6 watts at, I think, 32 ohms. I'll double check that, and I'll put some numbers up here, and then I think it's about maybe 400 watts at about 300 ohms-ish, somewhere in there. But again, numbers up here to double check all that stuff. And so it had plenty of power for anything, and also had no noticeable hiss when paired with the Starfields. So for low impedance stuff, I think this thing's pretty well got you covered, unless you're trying to drive something, pretty extreme off of it. So what else to say about this? I would say that probably my overall preference lies maybe more with shit stuff, just as far as emotional engagement goes. But that's not a 100% thing though. I think that the speed of the Zen CAN can really, in the right situations, convey a really nice, accurate sense of space and reverb and decay, especially in live recordings. And even though it's not as wide and the separation isn't quite as good as something like the Asgard 3. So it's not a cut and dry thing for me. There were times where I preferred the Zen CAN. There were times where I preferred the Asgard 3 or even the Magni 3 Plus. But I think, all of this is pretty nitpicky, going back and forth and A-Bing during songs and things like that. The short answer is I think like probably any of these amps, are very nice. And if you were just listening to them, I think you're probably going to be pretty happy with it. Couple of other features on the Zen CAN that we should probably talk about are the X-Bass and the 3D sound stuff that happens if you hit this little button here. This is pretty par for the course for me, but I don't really use that stuff a whole heck of a lot. They do work, and certainly the X-Bass adds noticeable bass. I also think, though, it gets a little loose and sloppy, so I tend to prefer it off. But there may be instances where you might really enjoy using that feature. The 3D mode, I just personally don't like adding any of those effects or messing with my music at all with those, so I pretty much leave those alone for the most part. But it does work, and it does change some things. So all I'd say about that is, take some time to maybe play around with it a little bit if you want, and consider it a bonus that it's there, but I don't know if it's anything that you'll want to rely upon on a regular basis. As far as, like the balanced cable here, I think this is a nice clean setup, but again, you're talking like $60-70 for an interconnect cable, and that's a hard pill for me to swallow, especially when you're talking the full stack. You're probably looking at like $300 or maybe less if you buy it used. I think that makes adding a $70 cable a bit much. I am going to link below to a 4.4 to 4.4 cable that's a little bit cheaper, around the $25 range, in which case I think that'd be a good option for connecting these two up. Of course, this cable is extremely nice and extremely well built, so I don't have any problems with it other than the price as far as that goes. So the Zen Stack, I think, is an absolutely wonderful value proposition. At $300 for the full stack, you're getting balanced, you're getting plenty of power, you're getting a very clean linear sound that I would take personally over like any of the THX stuff. I would much rather have the Zen CAN as far as that goes. Now, I do think there's an argument to be made of, do you want to go super linear, or do you want to go something that maybe messes with the frequencies a little bit more, like the Asgard 3 or the Magni 3 Plus, and maybe grab a little bit more excitement or engagement. I think that's something that you should play around with, and I think both have their merits. But as far as a clean, linear, fast sound goes, the Zen CAN at $150 I think is a pretty excellent value. So, yeah, full endorsement. I think it's great. I think it's totally a nice stack. I think it's good value for the price. And I have no problems recommending it. It's a great little amp, a great little stack if that's what you're into and you like the look and you're interested in getting into balance and stuff like that. I think this is a great way to do it. So yeah, that's gonna wrap up the Zen Stack review. iFi, I've tested several of their products at this point, and I always walk away from them. I might not always agree with the sound of them, but I always walk away feeling like they're a pretty decent value and that they're well-made, well-functioning products. So kudos to iFi for putting stuff out that's good quality at affordable prices. And thank you to them for sending this out for review. And, with that being said, if you've got any questions, comments, feel free to drop those down below. Certainly consider liking the video if it helped you out. Consider subscribing to the channel if you're interested in more headphone-related stuff. And this will actually be the last review that is coming to you from my office here, because I am moving and probably will be in my new place as of the time of this video posting. So stay tuned for the next one to see, I guess, how my new office and space turns out. Thanks for watching, and I will catch you in the next one.